Hello, folks. This is Psychic Underlord from psychicunderlord.shop as well as psychicunderlord.etsy.com. I want to do another video for you guys here. It's been a while. This story has been really kind of tearing up the internet, tearing up a lot of people. And I wanted to take an intelligent standpoint and provide a little bit of analysis. I've been thinking very hard about what is going on with Astlee, Janay, Governor Fairfax, and all of these recently promoted uh, murders and killings, as well as several politicians being accused of rape, sexual assault, SA, and stepping down from government, being accused. These are very strange and upsetting things that are going on. And from the intelligence standpoint, you have to understand the media is a multi-billion, trillion-dollar entity. Everything that comes from the media, as far as through the media, doesn't account for all the different money-making vehicles and tangents connected to these stories and the opinions and how things sway and the rising of businesses and the falling of other businesses because of someone said something or the media decided to expose things that are going on inside of a certain company, and now all of a sudden things are changing. To me, considering that we're in an all-out international war involving several countries as well as the United States, and for us to have this pictorial of war, then to instantly pivot into suspicious, foul play, all these type of things, murder mysteries, mayhem, all of these type of concepts instantaneously, it really shows that there's something afoot, something is going on behind the scenes. When I thought about the Iranian war, I thought about Astlee Janay and the perception of who she was versus what she really was and what was really going on. And I thought about instantly, this is a harlot slash harem slaying. If you know anything about certain cultures around the world, there is a systemic devaluation of women, and also at the same time an insane obsession with controlling women, grooming and preparing women, placing women in situations where they have no power, where they have no control or agency over their own lives. And I thought about it. She went overseas and was unalived, and this came across to me as a harem slaying, the slaying of the disobedient woman, the woman who, by international standards, maybe in America, may have been perceived as a glamour girl, someone who is seductive, sexy, pleasing to the eye, tantalizing, poised, taken care of, not having to work, living a soft life, and ends up being unalived in a third world country that they went to supposedly see for entertainment purposes, and then the allegations that she was being used in a group entertainment capacity, and that because she was in a mental trigger of being used for groups and then being simultaneously promoting this illusion of a potential marriage in the making. The complex capacity that his social media featured his wife, his company and himself and had nothing to do with her. And she built her whole social media identity around the concept that she was living a soft life as a kept uh, woman. So not kept in a way where uh, her moves are controlled or she is not allowed to go to school and all these type of things, but how she's the difference between the American woman and these women from other countries, many of them, is that the perception of the freedom to be promiscuous, the freedom to present yourself in a revealing or seductive manner to many different men, to be a thirst trap, uh, and the disgust of how they are received around the world. And they're aghast when they see women dressed in this manner, portrayed in this manner, and the idea that she would be uh, essayed and unalived in a third world country, uh, maybe even a predominantly Islamic group in that island. Uh, it is also very chilling. The Islamic honor slaying by big tech. We've seen how big tech in America is supposed to be an American thing, but really it has no other culture other than green. It is devoted to what, and this is even, there were big tech companies trying to get into, allegedly, to countries like India, into China. There were different, they said, well, they've got this population. If we could just get this many eyeballs onto our app and onto our technology, cryptocurrency, if we can use blockchain, get them to invest and put real dollars in, and we give them back a digital balance on a screen that can go up and down. So we're giving them a useless, valueless item that is only represented by the use of electricity as a way to determine its worth, its value from moment to moment. And if there's no electricity, there's no balance, there's no record. And they say that the blockchain is super secure, so the security is just about as good as its digital representation. So to go from the Iranian war to ask you, Janay, is almost like a blood sacrifice, putting blood on the computer to be able to yield a harvest through the sacrifice, a false altar. The God of this time, many people are utilizing the internet, social media, the glorification of self, the utilization of social media as a quasi altar, and placing the images and the files and the representation of this woman in particular, as well as several others, because, of course, she's not the only person in the world that this has happened to, or that this has happened to this week. But she was rich in social media, in commodization of content. Content is the big deal now. If you follow advertising, if you look at what they're pushing the ability for you to mass produce content with all of these different tech services to be able to use those content to create and scale unlimited money. But where are all the customers coming from with a death rate like this, with an overdose rate like this, with the fact that people don't have there are not as many jobs on the books as there once were because of the oversimplification of what human jobs had become. And then one step more, they were out of a job because there was nothing else left for them to do. And many times they've monetized themselves out of the job by producing these productive systems that are not yielding income, but instead are being utilized to allow companies to work themselves out of needing employees whatsoever. So all the money keeps going upstream. And then what are you going to do when there are no customers to buy your services? Money has no value without human beings. The web luxury an oversaturation of advertising is absolutely shocking and deadly. If we were to think about it, these companies could not scale and grow and replace customers and to provide the stock market with initial public offerings and have the money go up and down the valuation and have companies inside of companies. And so it's not Google, but it's Alphabet. Alphabet's inside of Google, and inside of Google is also YouTube and also all these other different companies. So we're basically double, triple, quadruple, quintuple dipping money out of freaking thin air for customers that we're expecting to be there or that we're augmenting through the hyper saturation of advertising, and then push uh, push Ashley Janay in there, mixed in with the Iranian war. It becomes a misogynistic human trafficking. Literally every representation of the falsehoods and the fouling of 2026, as represented through Ashley Janay, being taken overseas, not coming back. It also brings to mind Chantella, uh, who went to Mexico, I believe, and they had a horrific video of her being physically assaulted and no arrest. No arrest. They even see the people in the video doing it, and so it's really like a triggering. It's a dog whistle. It's a dog whistle of violence against women, mixed in with these quasi conservative Islamic macho misogynistic overtones of the power of men and the power of men to get off uh, and use women as extant commodities. Web luxury, soft life, the branding of the utilization of this parasitic paradigm where women are saying, well, if I just use people for money, I allow my body to be the pay. Uh, the concept of the value of a human being. And you say, oh, well, with OnlyFans, these people are pulling in, raking in illiterate, no education, no type of decency, no job history, pulling in untold amounts of money. It as long as it checks cash, as long as the rental office takes the money, they don't care where they get it from. But they keep building all these luxury buildings that no one can afford. You say, well, people with straight jobs, normal jobs, you can see on paper exactly what they make and how is that jibe within a city where they're building these luxury apartments for businesses that don't even exist in the city and places where it's illogical because people don't even make enough to purchase or to rent there. So what are they building it for? Who's giving the green light? And then we find that the government has been issuing financials and monies to the illegal citizens of other countries who have illegally come into America. They're filling out federal forms and, like magic, being sent uh, stipends and all types of financial girding with false numbers, false information, saying people that are not there, getting paid for people that are not there. By the time this thing busts down and we actually figure out all the people who were not there, but that someone got paid for, the dependents who are not real, the people who are living lives, the tax returns, all those people, the vetting, and we say, oh, well, it should be easy now with the technology that they're just putting forward that's causing us to shed all these jobs. The technology is so good that they should be able to just press a button and instantly they'll know exactly where all the fraud is, who's responsible, who's not there, who didn't do it, who did do it, and it'll all just come up. But then you need a whole entire infrastructure of people to retrieve, to subpoena, using the court system, using the legal system, the justice model, America, we're different. We can't just go in here like gangbusters. We have to be like this. So then we're totally negating the fact that we're being screwed over the coals by individuals who have fleeced us economically. And so this is the tragedy of a free market in free fall. If you have money being dispersed in a certain country and then all of it goes out the back window to foreign interests, the money is never circulated in the actual country from which it's issued. And since the dollar has been the universal standard as far as globally as for currency, and they use the dollar to pivot from and in valuations, if the dollar fails, there's going to be a systemic fail all the way down to the bottom, and then it has to start again. So it's unless they continue to print and print and print and inflate the amount of money that's there and just wager and just gauge, oh, X amount went out, X amount maybe not coming back according to these projections. So we put out X amount just to try to keep everything afloat. This is what Venezuela did not have. Venezuela was a failed state because they had no conscious as far as the valuation of money and gross domestic product. So what they were producing was illicit and illegal, and they couldn't understand, well, the money is coming. Where is it coming from? It's coming from the United States, but what was traded? There's actually no trade on the books. So there's no valuation as far as the value of what they are providing. So they can't get lending, they can't build anything, and all the money is going to Rolls Royces driving down streets full of potholes. No infrastructure, no money for the civic workers to be able to do their jobs, to pick up trash. You should have seen it in Venezuela with all the rotting meats that they were selling, and people were saying this is the only food that we can get. And all the drug money, they're so rich in drug money and illicit that nobody took the time to realize, oh, well, that's not real. That's not the real economy. But it is real. It's real because someone is paying for it, but the money does not trade in our way. And then where's the money stacked? It's stacked under mattresses. The American dollars, when they did these raids, mattress after mattress full of nothing more than $100 bills stacked as high and as wide as you could possibly imagine. They don't. Why does one person in America need to make $15,000 in a fucking day just because they have the right to flip money into advertising and take the advertising game through the freaking roof and manipulate people with all these types of things? Now they're trying to push and sell. Well, you've got to hurry up. You've got to hurry up and get on with this because they're evaporating jobs, and they're saying that the computer itself is the whole value. If they could just convert a storefront into a bank account and get rid of all the people, what's the value of the money? We have completely lost it to this web luxury and oversaturation. And the expectation that advertising is all we need. And each and every person has such a great opportunity just because they have access to the internet. So the internet is peak for ads. The returns are low. If you were to add up all the people who are getting ads on the internet, who are paying hundreds and thousands of dollars, they can see some returns, but there are a lot of people who do that, but for different various reasons they're losing. So they need all these other auxiliary services and intellectual analysis to be able to figure out how in the world to actually bring money in from the advertising, because just paying to get in front of eyeballs is not actually converting. And then when they say 50 to 90% of web traffic, this is not what I made up. This is what's on the internet now. 50 to 90% of the web traffic is freaking bots. So then if you say, okay, if they're bots, well, what's going on? So human beings, they go from website to website. So web traffic, the travel of what is traveling through the internet, are bots that have been created to be able to trigger chat rooms, chat devices, trigger emails, trigger exposures. You have people bots just sitting on a window to make it look like it's, the watch time is high. This is very uh, interactive. This is, so you can't sit here and say that all is fair on the internet because it's not. A lot of people are using it in a corrupt way, and they've been doing it for a long time. So now, with AI happening, and everything at peak, they're just converting and flipping money into the next best thing that they can hook into their business and then promote it. And then you go through all this, and then if you don't want to get all this ads, you're going to have to pay a monthly retainer just to be able to save time and to be able to control your own time. So now I'm paying for the time that I can't get by searching the internet. And this thing is just going to keep going off on my screen unless I pay. So the population uh, is wrong. This whole concept of people, they sources said it was 8 billion, now it's 10 billion, allegedly. We don't know. We don't know how many people are born at home, how many people are born in the forest, how many people are born in hospitals. For some reason, we got all these people registered and everything on file, but because of the way the agencies work, nobody's allowed to figure out actually how many people there are from country to country. And then other countries say, hey, yeah, we lose a lot of people to murder, but we don't even keep track of the deaths because it's no point in us remembering or keeping track of who was killed or who was shot, and died, who was stabbed. So we can't get accurate numbers because we don't know who died, and then we really don't know also who was born. A lot of people are being born outside of a structured place like a hospital. So that going on, population is wrong, and then you have this perception that everybody's on the internet, which is not the truth. Even if they have phones, it doesn't mean they're on the website all day. A lot of people have to stack bricks. A lot of these people have families. They got a whole bunch of kids they're chasing after. They got a phone with access, but they don't have a whole bunch of time on there. They have time to play. So what are we going to do? So how are we going to accurately determine the value of the advertising? Because the prices are going up, the companies are scaling, and the companies are increasing multiplicity in a multiplication type of way. So with all these different options, we don't really know what's real. We have to do a whole lot of due diligence to figure out. And then what are you going to do? So you put all these people out of work. How are they going to buy stuff from you? Because you're expecting for there to be a cash flow of $15,000, $18,000 a day. And the cash flow is supposed to just remain like that. And then people are not working. So and then you say, oh, okay, but when that day comes, you won't know it's the day. You'll just be in it. And then you'll be in it to win it and to force it and to do the next best thing. So the bots are running human resources. They've been running human resources all this time. We talk about we don't need DEI. We don't need diversity, equity, and inclusion. But they've been asking people's race on a freaking electronic job application since the early 2000s. Are you black, white, Native American, Pacific Islander, Asian, South Asian? Now I'm seeing South Asian, so they want to definitely make sure if you're one of the ones from the north of Asia versus ones from south. So they can kind of gauge a little closer to who's more qualified based upon your race. So we haven't gotten rid of race whatsoever, but we're all up in arms about what type of people. When you sit around and realize you're working in a place, everyone around you is different. Everyone around you literally are another kind of people. So now, instead of talking about qualifications, instead of talking about, who's the best choice and what's the best step, for the company and what are our objectives, they have no objectives, no job description, no job duties, and no guarantee that those job duties will even apply. And once they find the person that they like, they'll kind of make things the right way for them and sit around months and months. And these people do absolutely nothing. Then they turn around and they lay these people off. They're on unemployment. How are they going to freaking buy all of these different services that you have that are just popping up left and right? So we got a free market, but do we have any sense of the market opportunity? Because we can't keep allowing people with a picture of their butthole, to make $5,000 a day. It makes absolutely no sense. It makes no sense because what's the value if everyone's got it? So people wake up to the idea that they don't need you, and then somehow we're supposed to still have humanity, and then the most depraved wins. The most depraved wins. That's something that is actually very challenging for me to believe that could actually go on for very much longer. Male-dominated sex trafficking, femicide, and anti-blackness mixed together with Astlee Janay. So having a technical hedge fund cryptocurrency person who sits on the boards of cryptocurrency companies, domineering, people have said all kinds of things about him, and of course people who are leaders, they tend to rub people a certain kind of way because they're so determined and they're so diligent, and they have different type of parameters for money and for time. But taking women around the world while you're married, then the concepts of femicide, where in these third world countries like Mexico, you say, "Oh, Mexico's not a third world country." Well, most of it is. Most of it is. If you go to the major cities, of course you got McDonald's and stuff like that. But you go further out, it's not universally developed. A lot of people don't want Mexico to change into this whole Western concept. They want to have people walking barefoot. They want to have people walking around with ponchos and things. This is a cultural identity. And then what's worth saving? Is everybody supposed to wear a t-shirt and jeans? No. But there are things about Mexico that they have not changed. Killing women is one of them. And anti-blackness. This is well documented and this is well put forward. So having that girl be unalived in that way is something that a lot of people in different countries wouldn't bat an eyelash at, especially the Middle East, especially considering that we're at the war with Iran, who has been a thorn in the side of the United States for years and years. And as you see, even the talks to try to have a conversation with them is extremely complicated because they're not interested in the truth or putting together any kind of idea to resolve the matter whatsoever. In their mind, everything is fine. So we're definitely dealing with a difference in mindset that comes from the type of atmosphere that they have. If you look at the movie Not Without My Daughter with Sally Fields, that movie, I remember reading a book back in the 80s. And I even learned from the book how to cook sabzi. They have a dish in Iran called sabzi. And I learned to cook. I said, this sounds very nice in the book, and started cooking it as a kid. So if you learn about the culture, there's no one you can't come in and out of Iran. There's there are people that are designed whose job is to keep you from leaving, and they have people that are refugees, people who escape, and that type of thing. And oftentimes they lose their lives trying to escape from Iran. What's the whole purpose of it? to keep women in their place. If you're a woman, you cannot be seen without a man. And if you say that something happened to you, you need 6 men to go to court and get on the stand and say that something happened. And if they don't, they call you a liar and put you to death. So we're dealing with this cognitive soup of ideas that people have culturally that they put into play in reality. The whole thing is they've made a pictorial game of the internet taking lives. There's no shortage of mugshots, there's no shortage of dead people on the internet, but since their pictures and their content is there, all their social media is there, it gives the illusion that they're still alive. And sometimes if someone has access to that account, they'll let you know the person's no longer there. But now you realize how many people on your social media list that you really don't know, and why they've done such a diligent job in trying to make sure that you don't connect with anyone that you don't know, yet and still the ones that you do have, you don't really know them because people change so much and it's impossible to keep up with all of them. So this is a pictorial of power, of influence, connected with the technology, the tech-centric big tech, uh, the financial services industry, hedge funds who make money from stocks losing money. They make money from companies going out of business. They make bets on who's not going to survive through the season, and they monetize these negative perceptions of what shall be in order to turn a profit, which they do, let's say half of the time. The male SA ring, they had a ring of males who were being taught by the SA Academy about how to drug their wives using some type of anesthesia, whether topically applied, such as through a baby oil, or either they would take intravenous means through the skin and apply uh, some type of anesthesia or narcotics to their own wives, use their bodies for their personal purposes, which was sinister and outrageous to me. This is just coming out that they had over 82 million views last month on this website. So they know that there are at least 82 million people going to that website that teaches them how to SA their own wives. And it's open on the freaking internet that anybody could log in. What are we living in when, with everything that's going wrong, they're still thinking about how to take someone's body and use it for SA, which is insane. The Governor Fairfax issue is a case study of big tech. And I'll tell you why, because his last name is Fairfax. Fairfax, Virginia is also known as a big tech sector town. Northern Virginia, Alexandria, Fairfax, those cities in the north are full of people who are into coding, into technology, into futuristic type of advancement, taking what they have and improving it, payment systems, all type of things that they do in the tech sector. A lot of it comes out of Fairfax. So he combined his situation of a murder-suicide. He's living in Fairfax, Virginia. His last name is Fairfax. And then you have the anti-blackness, you have the femicide, you have the divorce, you have the law. And then they said in the state of Virginia, when you get divorced, women are not allowed to leave the house, because if you leave the house, the man gets the kids. So if you're a woman who doesn't have the financial means to leave, or you don't want to lose your children, The law has actually been set up just like some sort of Iranian harem, uh, male dominated misogynist control over disallowing women to functionally divorce without putting their lives at risk by living in the home with the man who they're trying to not be married to. And then you say, well, isn't it just running if they leave? Of course, we have millions of examples of this not occurring and this not happening and people getting divorced without a hitch. But then you have the few who might have some issues, and now you see them on national television. So everyone is gauging what's their next step if they're trying to escape or to get out of a relationship because, the state of Virginia has already said you're not allowed to leave, even if you want to get a divorce. Um, Even if you're not safe in that house, if they haven't done anything to you, it's just all in your head. So this is, and by him, um, the color-based optics and his power as a previous governor of the state. It's the very same thing that with the 4 or 5 different congressmen and senators who are now stepping down or being put out of Congress and Senate for sexual assault of of staff and of uh, people who've given very detailed testimony. That's the same thing they said. They said that they were afraid of those people in Congress too. And so the governor is a politician. And then they said the people in Congress who had done those heinous, horrific things to them, they were also afraid of them. So as tech moves against humanity, men are folding. Men are folding because they think they're going to either be the last one standing or they don't have the intelligence to realize that AI is completely 100% invested in removing human labor. Removing human labor totally, completely. And that's why now they have code that actually codes itself and actually makes its own solutions and decides and just presents things to you that supposedly you would like. And you always end up liking it. Unless you have to nip and tuck in and do a little bit here and there. But the majority of the time, what they give you is satisfactory, if not better than what you could have done, faster, much faster, useful, very productive use of your time, but it's taking people's jobs. It's literally taking people's jobs, and we don't know how we're going to get customers after this because all the people are either dying or they're being replaced and they don't have any type of income. So when men fold, it doesn't stop financial losses. They keep going on and on. So the work you've done with AI before, you went gung ho with it, or you say, well, I was doing AI, then I slowed down. But all the losses are still continuing because it's a trickle effect. As soon as you put that AI and apply that to the system, it has a dampening effect. So it reduces. And then a lot of people, if you drive down the street, a lot of people are not worried about financial losses. They're just as happy spending everything that they have in order to feel alive, to feel that there's something good for them. It's living. It's like without human beings, living is no good. Hotel, travel, doing this, experiencing this, eating this, going there. None of that matters without human beings. And we can't sit here and say that we're convincing the AI to take care of us and getting exactly how much money that the human being is going to need, because that's a fool's errand, because the human beings don't even know how much they actually need. technically, and then they don't know how much they want either. They just know that they want more and more and more and more and more, and they'll just continue to spend it and continue to force this thing to use more and more electric to figure out how to pay you more money than you possibly could ever use. And if you get to that day, which they're basically scaling and saying that it's it's uh, it's just that close to creating a system where of round robin, where it could just take the information provided by the operator, just continue to circulate it, circulate uh, in order to trigger the algorithms and trigger the views and the eyeballs to be able to put money into the machine. Gas dropped less than 5 cents. So there was no real changes in the market. So we went from gas going sky high, Iran being at war, and now we've got this thing where uh, we can see that it's $3.99, but it used to be $4.25, $4.50. You say, oh, it's a savings, so it's a bait savings, something that we actually, um, you know, we're actually looking to say, okay, well, will gas prices actually really go back to the way that they used to be, or will we just hover around this amount and then they'll continue to extract and extract and extract from us while there are less and less customers and they treat us worse and worse? There have been no real changes in the market. So with AI doesn't create companies, it creates technical systems that people are paying for to be able to develop technical systems. And that's that. But can it get you a cup of coffee? No, it can't. And you say, oh, I get my own cup. You do all these things to get around people because people are expensive, they're confusing. But it's always been the way that it's been, to have human beings interact with one another and see the best in each other, work together, produce something good. The blood is now being monetized by AI for likes. The blood I'm talking about could be characterized by what Astlee Janay had put out into the world. Her presentation, and I talked about the volume of her social account, and this is why I'm sure that they were elated and ecstatic that they had a social media account with that many pictures, that many videos, that much information to throw it into analysis and be able to present something that people actually are intrigued to know about because it just seems so completely illogical. But at the same time, her blood is being monetized for likes. They still ask you to like it. They still ask you to share these videos. And to me, this was like a bloodletting that involved social media. So almost like taking the blood of a person who was in social media, and they apply filters to the pictures, they put music in the background, they type text around it, they do all kinds of things that this person would have never even assumed that would ever be done to their beautiful pictures on social media. But this is a bloodletting. This is a simulated digital altar where things are applied, the pictures, the name of these people, the family members and friends who see them at a certain point, they don't see them. They choose how close or how far they want to be involved because it's too much for the family. They don't have an obligation to do it. It's involving social media. So if you want to um, be keen on, how to protect your account, well, first off, let's look and see how many selfies you have. How many photos do you have with other people? Are the people tagged? all these type of things. It makes the citizen reporting a lot more easier, and you can monetize because you're actually accurate because you know who her mother is, you know who her father is, you know, uh, back years and years ago, who was at that place, and they found it. That's how they found out that the guy was still married, and then she's going all around the world. He actually proposed to her, so it's like a bigamy case, and he's still alive. So this Ashley Janay's her account is the real money. The volume of that account, the weight of her social influence. You got 150,000 people that click yes, that they do want to be connected to you for no other reason except to see your pictures as a person. Um, it's real money. The volume of it makes it real. I'm sure they can put that on a statement as far as if they were looking to get loans. What type of membership do you have? How much influence do you have over people? And that can probably work for someone to be able to allow them to qualify. The men of the stories, just even Justin Fairfax and um, the uh, guy who was involved with Ashley Janay, he was not crucified. There, as many times as they've shown him and how heinous that they keep saying of what was done to her and all these different things, um, they focus a lot more on the women who are dead than the men who are still alive. The women who died, they were the money. And then I heard even more sick today. They said that he was the guy from Ashley Janay, that he um, needed her for social influence, which was insane because he had something like a few $100 million in that company that were able to be utilized for the school. Um, excuse me, for the social media, for whatever reason with the hedge fund. But they said that he wanted to get with her because her account was more rich with fans and supporters, and if he can utilize their relationship, then it was a good look. So they're just basically using people to get eyeballs onto their page. And tech is looking for large accounts to easily connect the dots, to make the reporting almost as if it's 100% real. Now, of course, we know if you start tagging everybody in your family and everything, you can tag them falsely. You can tag them to a point where there's no uh, question about who these people are. And if your account is large, something happens to you, it's a whole bunch of ways that they can use that account to appeal to people. If you don't have your picture there, you don't have details, and the account goes dark, it's not something that people are able to really sink their teeth into. So I'm going to end it here. I thank you all for listening. Thank you all for listening to this intelligence. I know it's a deep dive, and some of these things can probably be a stretch, but for what it's worth on the surface, not even looking that deep into it, it makes a whole lot of sense to me.